lead, because a post doesn't move anywhere, whereas a lead does. And we said if you're going to lead, you're actually leading into the line. So if I'm running off you, you want me to lead for you, and you want me to lead into the line. If you think a lot of times when we watch our players attack, this support runner will get there and go, oh, there's nothing on, and he'll pull up here. As soon as I've pulled up, you two can engage in that tackle. Yep. At worst, you can engage in tackle and you can reload early. So you're ready for the next ruck, and I'm no better off. But if I've led into the line for you, I've given the option of giving me that pass, and you're going, I'm giving it to you this time, and you're just going to get dusted up a bit because you're into the line, I expect you to catch it, but you've put pressure on these defenders, they've got a late contact, you're in a strong position, you hold it, we're going to get some momentum off it. If we don't, by leading to the line, these defenders have got to stay honest and they've got to stay with me. So they're into me, you're a chance of, okay, it wasn't there on the half, but I've got tackled with the footy, but I know you were there for me. Or perhaps this defender comes in, there's a little opening for you to have a half a dart at them. So that leading into the line makes something play. Now, the reason a lot of us don't lead into the line, and there's probably two thoughts on what flat attack is. Flat attack does two things. Flat attack gives us that ability to make the defenders adjust late and get to a spot, but flat attack also allows us to get back onto the ball quickly for the next one. And a lot of players don't lead into the line because they say, if I've led into the line here, I can't be involved in the next play, even though you've been tackled there, because I've got to get all the way back here, and I've got to be right back here because I've got to be deep to run onto the ball. That's crap. I only need to get just behind the line of the ruck. Why do I only need to be there?
Because the attack's going forward now, they're going to be onside.
And what have I just said before I want my dummy half to do? Go to a dead end. So if he's here and a dead end's going to be all the way up here, I don't need to be way the fact there. I just need to be here because I want to be on the play. So now we're starting to say if we want to expand our attack, it comes back to those basic fundamentals that we had. So if our halves and hookers are prepared to get to the line, I don't need to be so deep. I can be on the ball quicker. By being on the ball and being in a position where I lead and I lead and I lead and I'm always pushing forward, sometimes I'll get the pass, sometimes I won't. But it's the unselfish run. It's that brave, unselfish run where sometimes I'm going to get belted. Not often will I run into the great open space, but quite often I'll end up in a one-on-one or a quick play the ball situation. Why does Thurston like having Luke O'Donnell next to him? He does. And he's a big thing, and he's a brave runner, and he don't mind. He says, Jono, if you're going to get to there, I'll be there. And I'll take the run for you. Sione Faumuina, when he was playing for us, had a bit of difficulty because C loves the footy. And for anyone who's watching him play a bit, Sione loves the footy early. And a lot of the Polynesian boys do. They like to get the ball early because generally they've got good hands, they've got good feet, and they can create something in attack. The halves hate him because they're saying, hang on, that's my job. So we used to have a bit of a deal with Sione, like, Sione, you've got to do this number of those ones, you've got to do something for me, and then I'll do something for you, I'll give you the early ball when you want it. But I need a balance, because if you're only ever going to sit back and say, no, I want it here, because I want to do this, no, I need you to get into that line because that gives something for me. So in amongst your players, there's a trade-off. I'll go to the line for you and I expect you to lead in there for me. But equally, when you want the early ball, I'll give you the opportunity to give it early and I won't overplay it. And the same thing happens in the middle with our nines. Not always is the nine going to jump out, get to a dead end and give a short pass to a front rower. Why is that? Who's our front rowers in the room? We got any front rowers here? No front rowers? Front rowers, what do they always want the dummy half getting out and tipping a little? Why not?
So we get the ball sort of evasive action.
Exactly. And you can also line up and say, give me the ball early. Oh, I want to put my little stamp on the game here. I want to rumble down the park and get into someone. So again, it's that balance of saying sometimes the nine's going to get out because he wants me somewhere. But sometimes, hey, I just want it early because I want to rip in and I want to make some meters and I want to put my own little mark on the game that says, this is how we're going forward, this is how we're rolling into them. Yep. So there's always a balance in what we're saying. Now, we haven't gone too deep into our attack at the moment because we're still quite at a core skill level and a base skill level. But if we're doing that effectively, we're going to be effective in our games of footy. We don't have to put too many bells and whistles and tricks into it because at the end of the day, the game hasn't changed ever in the history. It's about taking metres, and if you take enough metres, you put yourself in a position where you can score a try. Now, I'll go back to down in Sydney the other day. Tim Sheens made the comment, and he talked to the guys, and he said, look, there's always the idea of saying you've got to go forward before you go sideways. Everyone's heard that? You've got to make some metres down here before you go there. He said, I don't necessarily adhere to that. I'm quite happy to go sideways to then go forward. So he told the group that, and they went, oh, okay, that's all right. We're going to go sideways to go forward. Why does Tim Sheens at the moment like to go sideways before he goes forward?
Players that can do that at the moment.
He's got players...
Get to an edge.
Gets to an edge. He's got players that can do that. Marshall can go zit, zit, put it there. What else? What doesn't he have?
He hasn't got big forwards.
He hasn't got big forwards. So he hasn't got the blokes who are going to go punch, punch, punch. How does a Wayne Bennett team play? They just bang, bang through the middle. How many passes do you think South Sydney are going to have this year under John Lang? Well, they won't pass the footy. They'll just be bashing it through here, but he's got a massive big side and they'll bash you forward enough that then they'll flip a ball to someone. So there's both ways of looking at it, but the principle says you've got to go forward. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on, about the actual principles of how we do it. But nothing has changed from the fact that we want to get over the advantage line. Our best way to do it is to get the footy in the bloke's hands who is going to get some momentum moving forward. So, yep.
Question back to that front row. That balance, how do you get that balance? Like a lot of front rowers just want that early ball to barge in. Like a kid like Francis, he wants that early ball. How do we get him to play flat, play short, off the dummy half?
That's a challenge. It is a challenge, yeah, and a senior player will accept it more than a junior player. You go to a bloke like Fui Moi Moi. He's never going to run that little run where the dummy half gets there and he says, now I've got there, I want you to do that, is he? So they got to the point where I reckon they've negotiated and said, look, we'll shake hands on this. You don't do those, but stay out of the road when we're doing that. And then we'll come to you when you want to have the hair flying and the arms and legs going and get into them. And sometimes, and Francis is probably a classic example. Francis is a young front rower that Dave's got playing for him. And he's a massive big kid. He's got wonderful leg speed. But he's not the most obedient of footballers in terms of fitting in with what the team's ethos is. So I think with a player like that, and you'll get a few of them, you've just got to give them the footy early. Yeah, and it's interesting, like with the 18s that I had last year, and you guys know the guys, like having a Curtis Ritchie and a Jai Ingram, who were two back rowers. A Curtis Ritchie would say, I will go to that line every time for you. If you want me 100 times out of 100, I'll do that. Yet he had some pretty good skill to play away from the line and do some things before the line. But he would do that every time. Jai Ingram would, there's no way on God's earth I'm going to run that line, because the perception is I don't get seen doing that, and you don't. And that's what's called, that lead run's the unselfish run. People don't notice it. They don't look for it. They go, how brave was that? They don't go back enough on the videos to say, have a look at the quick play the ball from that second row when he ripped in there. They go back and they say, look at that halfback flicking that ball there. And all. He just seemed to have time, that halfback. We had time because of the brave run from that back rower. But young players in particular like that footy early, because then I can do my thing. And it's hard. And you've really got to, I still believe with a young player, you've got to say, you've got to do that. If you don't have this number, I'm going to start you off the bench next time. And you've got to start saying there has to be a balance of doing that. That's for fairness in your team. but there's also the acceptance that he's going to do a little bit more of that because he does that good. You're going to do a little bit more of this. Ray Cashmere won't mind me telling the story, but at the Cowboys, Ray Cashmere used to get in there and he'd say, Tronky, Scotty, I've got you for metres. I've 127 metres here. I got this and that. Steve Price is another one at the Warriors. I got 240 metres for this game. And my teammate, he's a dud. He only got 80 or 90. And Ray would sit there and he'd say, buddy, Matty Scott, he's running 80 metres, 90 metres for the game. I've run 140. Clearly you can see I'm the better front rower. If you go back and have a look at what all they were doing, Matty Scott's doing these ones going, fucking get me into the line, and doing the first run, struggling, getting up, good play the ball. And Ray's going, they're all back wheeling now, hang on. Geez, Payne's out of dummy half, he's giving me a footy and I've made 12 metres. Dud Matt Scott, he's only made 6. But he was doing that tough front.